What's up guys, got a brand new video for you today, and today I thought I would just make a quick 1 week with the iPhone X now that I've had it since last Friday morning when I went and picked it up at the Apple store, and I got it in my hand right now, and there's a few things that we need to talk about because there was things that I talked about in my review that I wasn't too happy with, which don't bother me anymore, and that's mainly the gestures and Face ID. So going over the gestures, I actually feel like iOS 11 feels more complete using these gestures. It gives it a completely different feel and different vibe that you can actually only get on the iPhone X. So things like closing apps, swiping down from Control Center, and swiping up to get rid of an app just seems so intuitive now. Swiping an app away just makes sense. I don't know why, but it just does. I have the Galaxy S7 Edge here, and I was using this phone a couple days ago trying to close apps, and I was like swiping up. I'm like, oh yeah, iPhone X only. So that said, I complained a little bit how you had to close apps is a lot different, how you have to long press and swipe up or close it out. I'm so quick at it now, it doesn't even bother me. I just kind of hold down a little bit and then I can swipe the apps out of the way. Everything's just super intuitive and makes sense now. I'm actually super happy with the gestures. Now I also talked about Face ID and how it didn't work with my sunglasses, and someone in the comments actually told me to turn off attention awareness off and that would work. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Turned it off, boom. Face ID works with my sunglasses, no problem. So if you're having problems with that, try turning off attention awareness and see if it works. I talked about the notch and how it was massive. It is still pretty big, but now I've completely I don't feel like it's that massive anymore. It actually seems to just fit the phone. And I actually kind of have gotten used to it and how it looks. One other cool thing is that the notch actually is touch sensitive, which I didn't know. And you can actually tap that to scroll back up to the top of any page. So that said, I've been enjoying my time using the phone. Battery life is probably the best out of any iPhone I've ever used. At the end of the day, not heavy usage, but like the same usage I normally would. And we're talking late into the night, like maybe 1 a.m. or something like that. I still usually have 25% battery life left, and I don't think I've ever had that with any other iPhone without having to plug it in at least once in the day. Face ID is something I don't even think about anymore. Just turn the phone on, unlock it, and I'm in. I don't have to worry about, waiting for it. But the thing is, the 1 out of 10 times that it doesn't work always reminds me that I'm using Face ID. All right, so let's talk about the camera a little bit here. So the new file compression that they use, H.265 codec, doesn't really play back on my computer too well, but when I bring it into Premiere, it plays back fine. So you might have an issue if you're trying to play that back. A lot of the newer computers don't have that big of a problem, but I know that if you have an older computer, you might have a problem with playing back the video files. So one other thing I thought that was kind of annoying I talked about in my review is that using the regular wide-angle lens and you're shooting in something that's kind of low light, and then you switch to the telephoto lens, it actually doesn't switch to the telephoto lens, it just digital zooms in on the wide lens. And I thought that was kind of stupid, and I was able to replicate that by putting my finger in front of it and finding out that, yeah, it wasn't using the telephoto lens, it was still using the wide angle lens. Well, I figured out if you use another app called Manual, which is the app I usually use to shoot in RAW with anyway, it will force to the telephoto lens, and then you can actually shoot with the good telephoto lens versus digital zooming on the wide angle lens. All right, so this week there were a couple of strange things that were going on with the iPhone. A lot of people were typing I, and for some reason there was a bug. They would have put like an A with a box with a question mark in the middle of it. I never had the problem, but I know a lot of people on Twitter did because I was always seeing tweets with that on their tweet. But Apple issued an update yesterday, I think, so it's 11.1.1 or 11.1.11, I don't know, something like that. Updating that apparently fixes it, and I haven't noticed it yet on Twitter or Facebook or anything, so it must have fixed a few people's phones. Another thing that I actually had an issue with was yesterday. It's starting to get really cold outside here, and I found that the keypad became very unresponsive. So I was trying to text, nothing was getting typed. I was pushing super hard and getting super frustrated, along with being freezing cold. So like being frustrated and not being able to type while it's cold is double frustrating. I actually ended up Googling this problem, and apparently it's a problem with this phone. So The Verge had a big article on it, and Apple actually acknowledged that there might be a bug and they can fix it through firmware. Now, I just updated my phone to the newest firmware, and I have a feeling that maybe they snuck that into it because I was outside today for like 20 minutes trying to get this thing to freeze up on me when it was completely freezing cold outside. It was way colder today than it was yesterday, and I couldn't get it to freeze up, so they must have fixed it in the firmware. I don't know, some kind of touch pressure thing or temperature thing, I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to report that it's working now, and I don't know if that was in that update or not, but if you're having that issue, maybe update. Anyway, that's just kind of my quick update. I've been loving the experience so far. Like I said, with iOS, the gestures make more sense, and I kind of just feel like iOS needed to be different like that, and it's a completely different vibe, different feel, different experience, even though it's sort of similar. But yeah, I've been enjoying it so far, and hopefully you guys will get your iPhone soon if you don't have it yet. But yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, give it a thumbs down twice. I'll see you in the next one. So on the rear, we have two 12 megapixel cameras. One's a wide angle, 28 millimeter full frame equivalent, f1.8, and then the other one is a telephoto lens, which is 56 millimeters, and it's f2.4, which is actually a little bit better than the iPhone 8 Plus, which is